Hello there, I'm Big Alias, and we're going to talk about some fun stuff today. Super fun time on the Big Alias channel. We're talking about tariffs. I've got to do it. You know, I've talked so much smack about the silly man on this channel, and I need to talk about this. I think specifically because I actually have a bit of a horse in this race. But I'll get into that. Into that section. For anyone who doesn't know, actually no. Firstly, let's kick this off by saying I know that there's going to be an impotence from people to say you're British. You can't talk about this. You're British. This is not on you. Well, firstly, I can talk about whatever the hell I want. Secondly, this does affect me. This does affect my country. We're actually things are about to be a bit tough. Due to the fact that, you know, we have Labour currently, which is the left-wing government. It's the one I voted for, and they've been very right-wing up until very recently with this new insurance that businesses are going to, tax that businesses are going to have to pay. And apparently it's going to cost them a lot. And of course, capitalism being capitalism and the protectionism that we have over these companies, hey, trickle-down economics is finally happening. And they're going to pass that cost down to you. And so we're going to be paying that. And now due to tariffs, it's going to be going up even more. So that's really going to have a major effect on us. Things are not looking bright currently for the UK. And so it is having an effect. And what he does as a whole does have a knock-on effect on our country. You should just see what sociopolitically he's done to this country. So the tariffs, what are they? What's the situation? So essentially, for anyone who doesn't know, he's going to be increasing the amount of tax that people have to pay when they want to import goods into the US. And the obvious effect that he's trying to have with this, and this would make sense in a classic conservative, like heavy Republican way. This would make sense if you didn't think about it for more than like 30 seconds. If you thought about it critically, then you would understand immediately what a asinine idea this is. But yeah, on the surface, the idea is supposed to be that, okay, either they make more money from people importing things and paying more to do so, or it increases infrastructure, it increases industry and commerce in the US. So either it gives you an injection of that, or you make more money, and that sounds great on the surface. However, it leads to a lot of inherent issues. For example, what's happening right now, which is it's leading to a trade war where now the US are going to have to pay more if they want to import things into other countries. Plus, the leading issue and the big thing that this comes down to is the fact that, yeah, okay, you can say, okay, we'll manufacture goods in the US. Not a problem. It helps improve the system. Except you don't have the infrastructure for that. You can't create it overnight. I mean, sure, if you had spent the past like century developing, and that's how long it probably would take developing, you know, everything that you need to keep things going. Sure. To be honest, even then, you'd still need to import from other places. Your coffee from Colombia, or, you know, even some medicines, the things that are involved in that, the agents that are involved in that, you know, it has to be shipped in. And the reason I have a horse in this race is because a little known fact about me is I work in shipping. I spend all day telling people how they're supposed to pay their tax and what tariffs we're supposed to put on things. For example, I can tell you that Brexit was a bad thing because currently, not a bad thing for Europe, but a bad thing for us, in order for trade relations in the UK, we actually provide duty-free goods on Europe. It's called an EU preferential tariff. And yeah, it you know allows for that to happen. So I do work in this field. However, I'm not a genius, you know, and I don't know everything there is to know about shipping. However, I work with people who know a lot, whose lives revolve around shipping, whose entire lives are dedicated to shipping. And I can tell you categorically, not a single one of them thinks that this is a good idea. Every single person I work with thinks that this is just not a good idea. And I work in the field. I honestly work with people who know more about this than Trump does, because he's a politician. He's not even a politician, he's an entertainer. And yeah, I work with these people and they're all saying, you know, this is an absolutely terrible idea. This is not a good idea. I can also tell you with some inside baseball that, in terms of, whether they'll pay, I can't say categorically whether they will. I don't know what the main import/export is to the US, or would be to the US, but I can say that in our country, certain ports, for example, Tilbury is one, they'll enact these new charges, they'll add some infrastructure charges, surcharges, what have you, and there's a £14 charge that was recently added to the Tilbury port, and one of my customers now refuses to ship goods to Tilbury. They won't do it because of this £14 charge, so they'll go up the road to a different port where they don't have to pay that charge. Because the thing you have to remember is most companies aren't just shipping every now and then. They're shipping constantly, and those charges stack up and up and up and up and up, and there are alternatives, and they'll just go somewhere else. They'll import their goods to somewhere else, and you have customers all across the globe. You're not just going to stick to the US. So I can tell you, personally speaking, gun to my head, I would tell you that no, I don't think people are gonna import their goods to the US. So you better build an infrastructure lickety split as quickly as you can, because you're not going to be able to manufacture all these goods with the current infrastructure that the US has, particularly as you spent the last however long century or whatever importing and building your infrastructure around that. You can't flick the switch overnight. You just can't do it, and it's going to make things so much worse. These US companies are going to end up having to beg these other companies or take on the charge in order to import those goods, and that charge is going to be passed on to the customers, much of the way of the previous thing that I just spoke about. That is going to trickle down to you, which is going to affect the economy, going to make Americans even worse off because they were already doing, so poorly. And then, of course, that's going to have a knock-on effect on how much people can spend on things, how much people can invest on things. And the thing is, when the price of things go up, that has a knock-on effect on I don't want to say the middle class, but there's this area in the middle where it's and I'm currently going through this right now, if you spend all of your money on utility and things that you need to live, there's that middle area that you can't spend your money on. You can't spend your money on leisure and goods that you would just want rather than need, and that has a real effect on things, because then those people can't run their businesses, they don't have enough money to prop up the economy, and it's a trickling domino effect, particularly when they're spending more money to import the goods that they're trying to sell to people who don't have the money to buy those goods. So yeah, it's an absolute shit show, and I can tell you right now, it's 100% just a pissing match. It's just Trump waving his dick around and saying, I can do this, and I'm gonna, because it all depends on how much you imported. He has this asinine sum where it's how much you imported over, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but it all depends on it's imports versus exports. So it's how much they export to you versus how much you import to them, and if you import more than you if you export more than you import from your country, then the percentage goes up or something along those lines. And we're looking at 79% from Vietnam, 7% from China. It's these insane numbers, and the only reason for it to be that way is purely reactionary, because that is I looked at this time when this thing happened, or when these things were this way. By the way, that percentage would definitely fluctuate. So to use that percentage, oh my god, it's infuriating. But anyway, to use a percentage like that, it's purely just Trump saying, I will do this and I'm going to do this, and you can't stop me. You can't stop me. That's King Curtis. But and so it's not to help things, it's not to benefit things. It's purely just a man saying, I can do this. And of course the knock-on effect is this trade war, and China don't want to increase the price of increase their taxes and their levies and their tariffs, but they have to now. They have to in order to try to curtail what's happening. It's a complete mess, and it's not going to I don't think it's going to go away. I think Trump has his head up his ass, as he always does, and is not going to listen to reason. And the funny thing about all of this is the craziest people are turning against him. Like, the Fox News are turning against him. Ben Shapiro is turning against him. And when, you had like this cult-like alignment, and these people, even these people are just like, no, bro, this isn't it, then you have to kind of go, okay, this is wildly fucked up. And I'm seeing all of the people who voted for him going, oh, I didn't vote for this. Yes, you did, actually. You so did. You so did. We told you so. We told you so. But as is always the case with videos like this, all I can do is be smug, because time and time again I've just been correct on this channel. We've been correct in telling you that he's not a good person and he's not beneficial for your country, and you just wouldn't hear it. And now look, it's a complete mess. So yes, I can't offer a solution, and it's a shit show. Oh my gosh, such a shit show.
The PlayStation is only $149, and you can also get leading titles.